In this video, I'm going to talk about forms, using forms to enter data, and then editing form layouts. Let's get started. We are back on the employee list that we created in an earlier video. From any list screen in Ruly, by clicking on a row in the list, it will open up a data entry form for that record. In this case, it says default form employee, so you know that this is a Ruly-generated automatic form. So let's look at the different parts of this form. So at the top is the form selector. I can create multiple copies of the same form to use for different purposes. There's a help icon. This is where you can create your own context-sensitive help that would apply to this particular screen. There are record navigation buttons where I can scroll back and forth through the records that I opened from this list. So you notice it says 1 out of 20, and that's because I have 20 records on this list. Here are the buttons that Ruly automatically adds to your form. You can remove these buttons and create your own buttons if you want. Forms are divided up into sections. So there's an all fields section. These sections can be expanded and contracted. And then a related data section, where the expense claims are shown as chips. Now there's also an expense tab, which replicates the information that's contained in the chips on the main form. But you can configure this so you can display one or the other, or even both if you want. If we want to make some changes to this form, then let's click on the gear icon. This takes the form into edit mode, and it's distinguished by the blue border around the form. So on this form, I can drag and drop fields. If I click on the big plus icon here, I can add more fields onto my form. I can also create a new field on the data model directly by pressing the Add New Field button. I can move the expense chip to the main details section. I can also create new sections. I can now add fields to this section using the plus icon or by dragging them from other sections. Beside each field is a pen icon. If I click on that, then I have these different properties that I can change. I can make a field required or read only. The tool tip can be used to provide a detailed hover over instruction to the user when they enter data. I can move to a 2-column form by turning on 2-column. By default, it's inherit, so that field will inherit the properties of the section that it's contained in. And then I can also set a default value. So let's change some of the properties. So for email, we'll make that required. And we'll set the default value for job type to full-time. And save. So you notice that the default form is gone. So this is no longer a Ruly-generated form. It's your form and it won't be overwritten automatically by Ruly. So now if I click New, you'll see that the employee email is a required field, and my job type defaults to full-time. Let's go back to the previous record. We'll go back into edit mode. Now there's another option here called properties. So here you can change the properties of the form. You can make it into a stepper style form. Each section of the form will appear as its own step if you use this function. You can add or remove buttons or create your own custom buttons. Using rules, you can control the conditions when these buttons should display. So you can see that there are many options to customize forms. Thanks for watching.